Hey guys, welcome back to Jason Journey Builds. We're back out in the shop today doing some little tidy up items that we got to do before we'll start doing our body work on the Bronco. We've done a lot of modifications to our bumpers over the last few weeks. We put in lights, we put in the tire carrier. We need to really get that stuff protected before we have all the moisture come in. And then we got Thanksgiving and Christmas. So I don't know how quick I'm gonna be back out here, so I just don't want this stuff rusting. And while I'm gonna have primer mixed up in my gun, I went ahead and media blasted a lot of different parts that I haven't got to yet. Suspension parts, like spring perches and stuff like that, all the original parts. You can tell these were quite rusted, but we've got all the rust off of it now. We'll get it protected with metal lock and get all this stuff in primer. But this is just another list of things that you have to do. And I was joking with Joni when she walked out. I said, this is all the stuff you've been missing all these years when she hasn't been out here in the shop. Because it just takes days like this where you don't feel like you're accomplishing anything, but you are. It's more things you check off your list. So anyways, just a quick rundown what we've got. The steering column I got from Jimmy. We went ahead and sanded it down. I media blasted it also. The tire carrier, you guys have seen the videos on it. Got it. I'll explain why it's kind of black here in a minute, also with the column. And then my collapsible shaft, I want to go ahead and prime it. And you may wonder why I've taped it, because you have your rubber dust shield, and then this part of your shaft, this is what's supposed to collapse into your bigger section in the event that there's an accident. And you really don't want to cover all that up with a whole bunch of paint, because you want that to move. So what I'll probably end up doing is, once I get this painted in color, I'll just put the color over the shaft without a primer, and that way it's just the bare minimum paint on it. So if it comes off, it's not really a big deal, but I'd rather it be safe than real shiny and painted. What I used was, I have a media blaster, or you can get little sandblast cabinets. You can buy them, Harbor Freight. You can buy them, Eastwood, all the different places. I actually had a real good friend of mine years ago give me this one. You can probably see it back there in the back. That old gray with the vacuum cleaner. He was an aircraft mechanic. And actually my very first job when I was 14 years old, first paying job from somebody else, was working for him, a fine gentleman. But he built Bell 47 helicopters, and I would sit out there for hours in that bead blasting whatever parts he had for me to blast anyways. So he gave me that years later, and I don't know, as a joke or what, but anyways, I had to do some work on it, put new glass in it and gloves. But anyways, those are very handy. You can see how good of a job they do. Right, the reason this stuff is black, or kind of got a black sheen to it, was I used a rust converter on all this. And I did the same thing on my tire carrier here. Because this was some used steel that I had. And like I said, after sanding it and all, and actually over the past 2 or 3 weeks since I built this, it actually got just a little bit of surface, a little bit of flash rusting from just sitting in here in the shop. So I went over everything with a coarse grit, and then I sprayed it with rust converter. And they say you can paint right over the top of it. I don't like to do that. I know this painting and body work is going to be, there's going to be a lot of people fussing at me because things that I do that maybe not how you would do it. But I've had good results from doing it this way in the past. So basically what I do, after I sand it, I'll spray it down with the rust converter. You can use OSFO, and even OSFO tells you wipe it on, let it dry 24 hours, if you're going to scuff it or whatever, and then paint over the top of it. I don't even do that to OSFO. Anyway, so I'll spray the rust converter on it. I'll let it dry. I'll come back and I'll sand it off, and just go with sandpaper, and then I'll use lacquer thinner, wipe it back down, and basically wiping it all back off because the reaction has already taken place with the rust. But I would rather get back down to the metal and lay my primer on the metal. I understand that there's 1,000 ways of doing this. This is the way I do it, and I haven't had problems with it. And I wouldn't do the whole car this way, but anything that I had that had a lot of rust, this is how I would like to do it. I'm going to wipe this thing down with thinner to start with. One last time, just in case I got fingerprints on it. Okay guys, here's what I'm using to prime. This is 5 Stars product, comparable to the Metal Lock brand. Anyways, real good for bare steel, and it's high build. So this fills all those little imperfections, and really good on a lot of this stuff, all this custom parts, a lot of welding. It'll make it look really nice. So this is a 4-to-1 build, basically 4 parts primer, 1 part activator. So I don't have a whole lot left, but I got enough to do what we're doing today. Make sure it's good mixed up. Let's see. Want to mix the smallest amount I can. And this is just the activator. So last thing I want to do is just tack it. Just use a tack cloth and just go over and make sure we get all the dust off of it. And again, we got our primers ready. The big thing with this primer, this heavy high build primer, is it's thick coming out of the gun, so you really have to open the gun up. And I really need a bigger orifice in my gun to shoot that thick of primer. So I have to just open it wide open, and we'll do the best we can. I'm just using a real cheap Central Pneumatic primer gun. You hate to run primer through your color gun or your clear gun. So. She's not supposed to show this. I don't have a gun holder right now. So this is what I do. Effective. if you can understand me. I am cleaning my gun. Alright guys, so as you can tell, it's back in one color again. It turned out nice. Again, this is a second primer coat. We'll sand it and probably do a third. So again, I wasn't real concerned with if it got a little trash in it because I knew I'm going to sand it again. But now it's protected. I don't have to worry so much about it with the moisture, and I'll get into it and don't have to worry about rust. So I told you guys I was going to show you everything, so this was just another step. Appreciate you guys sticking with us through this journey. We're going to start getting on the body work here really soon. Y'all stick with us. We'll see you guys in the next video. Hope you guys all have a great Thanksgiving. Stay safe and take care.